Getting chased by robots, my weapon barely tickling them, and being supported by useless NPCs. How did I find myself in this situation? Well, it all starts 6 weeks ago when I decided to do a challenge run and ask the question, is it possible to beat Star Trek Elite Force using only the hand phaser? Well, back to the beginning of this portion of the run. We'll get back to that robot nightmare later. But it started here on the decks of the USS Voyager, as I prepare for my next away mission to a seemingly abandoned gunship that we need to use to defend Voyager from invading scavengers. Now here the weapons master designed a new weapon for me, and he wanted me to test it on the holodeck. Unfortunately for him, and more unfortunately for me, I am doing a challenge run, and the rules are simple enough that even he can understand. I am using the starting weapon only, the hand phaser, to damage enemies, or to cause environmental damage to them, such as shooting an explosive barrel. So instead of using the photon torpedo on all these angry Klingons, I'm going to phaser them. And don't worry, there's no stun setting. Elite Force connoisseurs will recognize this level as one of the starting Capture the Flag maps from multiplayer holodeck, which the devs use here as a training mission on Voyager. My goal is simply to wipe out all these filthy Klingons from existing. While this isn't particularly difficult, I do have to wait for my phaser to recharge, which is irritating. But while I wait, I just imagine Neelix getting assimilated in my first video to pass the time, and that makes me feel a little better. It still surprises me how lore accurate this phaser is, other than the self-charging aspect, but it has nearly unlimited range, and it does huge damage, and it will completely vaporize your enemies. I enjoy that little dance the female Klingon warrior did before turning into dust. It's also very polite of them to shoot their weapons at me in a single shot. Klingons don't get enough credit for their politeness or their manners. I find it funny that, in most Star Trek shows, Klingons are always heralded as being some of the toughest warriors in the galaxy, but it always shows them getting beat in almost every situation. This is because they use Klingons to establish how powerful the new enemies are, but it just kind of makes them look weak when every time you see them, they're getting their butts kicked. The exception to this would be that DS9 episode, where Worf is held captive by the Jem'Hadar and is forced to fight them one-on-one until he dies. That episode makes Worf look pretty tough. But these guys are no Worf. They're just standing there waiting to get turned into dust. I skipped the other holodeck missions, but I believe that this one is required, so I figured I would include it in this video. I didn't want to be accused of cheating or failing the run, and besides, it was pretty easy, so it's not a big deal.
Excellent.
So after this, all you gotta do is talk to some NPCs, run around the ship a little bit. It's pretty boring, a little bit of a waste of time for this video, so I'm just gonna skip to the next part of the story.
Nice work on the Borg ship. We all owe you one.
Hey, what's that?
What? I don't see anything.
Out there.
Okay, so after waiting about 10 minutes for all the other NPCs to get to the transporter pad, which I edited out of this video because it's boring, it's time to beam to the gunship, and we're going to try to use it to attack the ship that's coming for Voyager.
Should have brought grav boots. Power to this area must be partially out. What are those?
Looks like fighters.
So everybody thinks that the ship is abandoned because when they scanned it there was no life signs. So all we gotta do here is some basic low gravity platforming and turn on an elevator so the other useless NPCs can advance to the second part of the level.
Mr. Monroe, lead the way.
So my question is, how did he know those crates were explosive? And also, they're not very explosive. They did almost nothing.
That you do not mistake one of us for a harvester. Mr. Cho, if you would.
So they might as well have just named this level Waiting for Elevators, because it seemed like that took up most of the time here. I edited out probably 10 instances of just sitting in an elevator after pressing the button, waiting for NPCs to awkwardly walk in one at a time. So, if you see hard cuts, it's because I spared you the monotony of waiting for these stupid elevators to move.
Something on the other side.
Here, if you'll remember, is a little puzzle where you have to aim a medical laser at a chair that is blocking the door, instead of just using your phaser or moving the chair. I skipped it because it's boring, and it's definitely not because I messed up and it took me forever to find the controls. So here is the first real combat of the level. Some scavengers were apparently here, even though that we've been scanning and somehow didn't detect them. How they got here also doesn't make sense. We took their isodesium so they can't transport, and Voyager didn't detect the shuttle. But hey, it's okay, right? Just a video game. Shut up. The issue I'm having is that I'm not sure if my friendly NPCs are invulnerable, and if they're not, will I fail the mission if they die?
What were scavengers doing here?
Looks like they were trying to get into the control room. They couldn't get this door open, though.
See that you fare better, Mr. Chell.
Yes, sir.
What a disaster area.
You know, for someone who isn't supposed to show emotion, Tuvok constantly seems angry and annoyed and rude to everybody.
Looks like they put up a fight.
Not that it did him any good.
That was fast.
Okay, so if you notice, I skipped there. It was just some waiting, some exposition, and a cutscene, and I skipped us right to the part where they sent us out on an incredibly dangerous mission that probably would have been easier to just beam us directly to. But now we are introduced to the main antagonist of the level, these weird little robot things. So one-on-one, they're not too difficult, but what I don't like is that they don't have a vaporize animation, so they just kind of fall over and block your view.
They must be controlled from a different part of the ship.
Okay, here's elevator number 163.
Tuvok out.
We must be an infestation to them.
I feel like this ended up being one of the easier levels. There wasn't too many deaths, and, you know, of course there was a few annoying areas, but without all those adapting Borg drones and stealth areas or swarms of enemies, it really wasn't too bad, and I actually had quite a bit of fun here. I mean, the most annoying thing was probably the turrets had kind of a bad hitbox, and sometimes it was tough to hit them, but other than that, this was a pretty well-made and fun level. Oh wow, another elevator. I don't believe it. You guessed it, I skipped another elevator ride, only to get us into yet another elevator. So a funny detail I noticed here, and maybe you noticed too, the level design is interesting because the bulkheads are angled to give the spider robots a clear shot at you when you think you're behind cover. Chang, it would be really nice of you to not block me, thank you. So it's funny to me, as you watch Chang shoot the compression rifle, how much recoil there is. Why would there be recoil on a weapon shooting phased energy? It's not like it's shooting a bolt or plasma or something that has mass. And if you watch Star Trek First Contact where they use these rifles, there's no recoil. And now that I think about it, they didn't even have these rifles in Voyager. These are from Star Trek First Contact. Voyager had those weird super thin phaser rifles, so why are they using these? So here is what we have, what I like to call FromSoft syndrome. That's where our opening boss is tough, but later on in the level, he just becomes a normal enemy. Thankfully, he only uses melee attacks, so he's pretty easy to just dodge, run around, and take shots at him. Now we are introduced to the most annoying enemy of the stage. It's these weird little drone things that shoot rockets and lasers at you, and they make funny noises. They are tanky and do AoE damage and are constantly an issue. So what looks to the layman like an accidental death was actually a strategy by me, because if I'm dead at the bottom of a pit, then the enemies can't kill me.
What'd you pick up?
Some kind of welding tool, but it makes a decent weapon.
I'll say.
So now we're at the point where those giant walking robots are just sprinkled throughout the map. They're not exactly the same as the boss one, but definitely still tough to take down and deal heavy damage if you get too close. If anyone here has ever played Star Wars, The Old Republic, the MMO, these walking robots kind of remind me of a bunch of the robots in that game.
Everyone okay?
So here is probably the most annoying instance of the hitboxes on the turrets not actually matching the model. You can see I'm clearly hitting it there and it's just not doing any damage. So, if that little robot had not been there, would we not have been able to progress in the map? That seems pretty lucky. Hey, you gotta admit, that was some pretty good dodging right there. My friendly NPCs like to use the strategy of darting back and forth in front of me while I'm firing to test out if my weapon is doing any damage. This is where I learned that you could actually shoot down and destroy the little missiles that those drones fire at you.
Well, I know we're here now.
You know what we haven't had in a while? A really annoying elevator.
Excellent, Monroe.
So here we had an elevator bring us to a second elevator and a loading zone that brought us to a tram that now brought us to a third elevator.
That looks like superheated ion gas. Would sear the flesh right off your bones.
Hey, Monroe, whatever you did worked. The gas has stopped venting.
There's really not a lot to say about this part. It's kind of just wearing down the waves of enemies and making it through without taking too much damage.
Plasma tubes. We must be getting close to the focusing tube. The gravitic gradient say it mustn't be charged.
I went ahead and just skipped another 2 minutes of dialogue and them trying to get up the elevator. At this point, the level was starting to get a little repetitive, but it wasn't too difficult or frustrating, so it's okay. We can just plow through it. Whenever I'm having a good time, it's like immediately just an elevator to ruin my day.
Mitch.
Sir,
Hey.
can't this wait?
I left this elevator ride in just so you could see how slow the elevators move. And this brings us to the point from the beginning of the video. This is where I found myself swarmed by robots, and there was nowhere for me to run because the elevator had closed behind me. But these guys are pretty slow and their attacks are pretty slow, so we can get through it okay. Alright, so we won, and I still have a healthy amount of HP left to fight the next enemies. Okay, so you may be wondering, why is my health suddenly at 82? So I went into this room, I got the 2 health pickups, and then I accidentally dropped off the side, and I had to run all the way back around. So instead of forcing you to watch that, I just get back to the point where I finally made it to the end. And of course, now we get to yet another elevator for you to watch. Just kidding, I skipped it. It was literally like 30 seconds long.
It's almost a Voyager.
So my strategy of trying to run past the robots only ended in me getting myself trapped on another elevator with 2 robots. So let's try this again.
It's almost a Voyager. They're helpless.
Hurry, Alex.
Alright, so we made it, and we did a lot better, and now we get rewarded with another elevator ride.
We're not getting through here with those rods down.
One thing I do have to say about this level, there's way too many elevators, but they're very generous with the HP power-ups. I'm not sure if he just got taken out by an enemy or if that was scripted or what, but I guess bye, Mitch. Thanks for all your help. Okay. For once, an elevator was a good thing on this map.
We're here now.
So now that we've raised the rods, we have to take all the elevators back. So I was very fortunate that I found a little area that I could get to that would mess up the enemy's pathing, and I could just hide here like a coward and shoot at them while they didn't know what to do. So this is basically the most irritating and tedious part. There's just tons and tons of turrets that you have to take out. So this part used to always stress me out as a kid when I would play it. I'm still not 100% sure if it's actually timed or not, but the way Tuvok is yelling at you, it seems like you have to get it done immediately or all Voyager will be destroyed.
I know we're here now.
Time is of the essence.
No, no.
We are out of time, Ensign. Load the charge now, or Voyager may be lost.
I'm loading it now.
That would be highly advisable, Mr. Monroe.
Lock and load, Commander.
Acknowledged. I am initiating the firing sequence. Prepare to beam back to Voyager.
Alright, I'll let you watch this weird little cutscene, but that should do it for this level. It was pretty fun, not too difficult, a couple little frustrating parts, but all in all, not nearly as bad as the Borg level. So, I hope you enjoyed watching. This is part 6 of my challenge run on if I can beat Star Trek Elite Force with only the hand phaser. Can't wait for you to check out part 7, and if you enjoyed it, also check out the first 5 parts. Thank you, and then if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. One more thing I have to do.
Well, looks like I'm not the only one on this ship who knows what the inside of the brig looks like. Don't those beds hurt your back? Look, the captain's mad now, but she'll give you another chance. Just don't screw up